Tonight at 6:30.
This is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite.
Good evening. The United Nations General Assembly this evening, by a lopsided majority, handed the Soviet Union a diplomatic setback on Afghanistan. And Iran ordered the immediate expulsion of all American journalists. We'll have the Iran story in a few moments, but now here's Mitchell Krause at the United Nations.
The result was a resounding victory for the United States and the other nations opposing the Soviet intervention in Afghanistan.
In favor, 104. Against, 18. Abstentions, 18.
Throughout the four-day emergency session of the General Assembly, which culminated in today's vote, delegates from more than half of the 152 UN member states spoke on the now-adopted resolution, which contains 8 provisions. Among them, an appeal to all states to respect the political integrity and non-aligned character of Afghanistan and to refrain from interfering in its internal affairs. And most important, a call for the immediate, unconditional, and total withdrawal of the foreign troops in Afghanistan, although the troops are not named as Soviets. A strong opponent of the resolution who spoke before the vote was Cuba, head of the non-aligned group, many of whose members were sponsors of the resolution.
Because we know the historic role of the Soviet Union and of United States imperialism, we shall vote today against that imperialism and against its policy.
The delegate of Israel was a strong supporter of the resolution.
In the 1930s, the world stood idly by when the aggressors of another age swallowed up one small state after another. The entire world paid a heavy price for its complacency, its passivity, and its acquiescence in the acts of the aggressors. We must not repeat that mistake.
The Soviet Union made a final appeal for votes against the resolution.
To us, we do not yearn for other lands. We do not devour other people's resources. It is the colonialists that are tempted by this smell of oil.
Now the issue will go back to the Security Council, which has been ordered to consider ways and means of implementing the resolution. The same Security Council where 1 week ago the Soviet Union vetoed a similar resolution, leading to its consideration by this emergency General Assembly session. But U.S. officials hold out little hope now for effective UN action on either Afghanistan or Iran. They point out that the voice of the overwhelming majority of UN members has so far been ignored, citing the 50 Americans still being held hostage in Tehran and the tens of thousands of Soviet troops still in Afghanistan. Mitchell Krause, CBS News, United Nations.
The United States said today it would act as though last night's Security Council resolution calling for economic sanctions against Iran had been passed and not vetoed as it was by the Soviet Union. The State Department said it will go ahead and promote the imposing of sanctions by all Western nations. The White House said the veto was an act of political cynicism intended to advance Soviet designs on Iran and to divert attention from the Soviet intervention in Afghanistan.
Don't wait for someday. Geritol is for now.
I used to think I wasn't old enough for Geritol. Now I'm old enough to know better.
I take a Geritol tablet every morning. That way I'm sure I'm getting enough iron and vitamins.
And if she ever forgets her Geritol, I remind her.
Geritol, America's #1 iron and vitamin supplement, with more than double the iron of any ordinary supplement and important vitamins. Don't wait for someday. Geritol is for now.
Geritol every day. What's the most important part of my day? I think my night. Because that's the only time I have to really unwind, put the day behind me, and get the rest I need. But some nights I have trouble falling asleep, so I take Sominex. Sominex helps me feel drowsy so I can get to sleep.
Sominex, America's #1 sleep aid. When you sometimes have trouble falling asleep, Sominex will work for you.
I'm having a real good day because I got to sleep last night.
American intelligence analysts and Western diplomatic sources in Afghanistan agree that rebel resistance there has weakened dramatically. They say fighting has stopped almost everywhere and that Soviet and Afghan army mastery seems almost complete. One Western source in Kabul said a Soviet division of at least 10,000 men is in position near the border with Iran, within striking distance of Iran's Persian Gulf oil fields. But a U.S. official said the Soviet force is not nearly that large. Afghanistan's new government is trying to prove it's more deserving of the people's trust than the one it replaced. Don Cladstrup has this report.
It is unclear how many people were killed for political reasons under the former regime of Hafiz Amin. But one thing is clear. The present government intends to take advantage of it. President Babrak Karmal recently called on Afghans to go to their mosques to pray for those who died under Amin. Thousands of people responded. People who'd lost family members and friends. People like Sadeki Khalid, whose 3 brothers were executed after being accused of being agents of imperialism. Right now, religion here does not seem to be a strong political force, but the Karmal regime isn't taking any chances. In an effort to win hearts and minds, authorities have been telling the public that 17,000 political opponents were put to death by the deposed and late President Amin. The implication is that such a thing could never happen under Afghanistan's newest leader. No one wants to speak openly, but hardly anyone one meets on the streets of Kabul has little good to say about the Russians, or about President Karmal, who's viewed by many as nothing more than Moscow's puppet. Before the coup which put him in power, 15,000 political prisoners reportedly were being held in Afghanistan's main prison. Karmal says since he took over, nearly all have been released. Diplomatic sources here, however, say only about 2,000 have been freed, those who have vowed loyalty to his regime. Many Afghans regard Karmal as an improvement over Amin, but many also fear that his power depends more on Russia's blessing than on the will of Afghanistan's people. Since there was never any election here, it is hard to tell how popular or unpopular the Karmal government is. By calling attention to alleged crimes of the previous regime, authorities hope to at least look good by comparison, and at the same time ease public concern about Russian troops in this country. Don Cladstrup, CBS News, Kabul, Afghanistan.
Iran has ordered all American journalists out of the country. It charged them with distorting the news. While the order called for their immediate departure, it was thought they would be given a couple of days to get out. Other Western journalists were told they too would be expelled if, as the officials put it, they send anything but the truth from Iran. And the foreign minister said today that unless the U.S. changes its position, the embassy occupation might never end. Bert Quint reports.
Iran's foreign minister, angered by the American decision to press for economic sanctions, said today the hostages might be held forever.
As long as the Americans are prepared to stay right there and try to put the pressure, the situation remains the same.
The minister, Sadek Ghotbazadeh, spoke with reporters at Tehran's airport before leaving on a one-day swing in his campaign to become president in elections January 25th. Ghotbazadeh said a proposal he had worked out with UN Secretary General Waldheim that a UN investigating commission come here did not indicate a softening of Iran's demands. Whether that commission comes or not, he said, the hostages will not be freed until the Shah and the money he took from Iran are brought back. Asked what effect sanctions imposed by the United States unilaterally or with the cooperation of other countries might have on Iran, he replied,
nothing.
The militants at the American embassy told an Italian television reporter that they have not given up hope that Chargé d'Affaires Bruce Langan, who is being held with 2 other Americans at the Foreign Ministry, will be delivered to them for some kind of trial. They confirmed that they are feuding with the Revolutionary Council over the issue and called some council members irresponsible.
Only authorities that we recognize is the people and the imam. And this does not mean that there is a deep difference between the government and us, but only that they have interfered in matters which they are not responsible for.
The militants angrily denied charges by the Carter administration that they are Marxists and insisted that they are loyal Muslim followers of Ayatollah Khomeini.
Mr. Carter, before all, is a cheater. He knows that in the Iranian nation, in the Islamic revolution that has taken place here, the Marxists have no place, and that the Muslim Iranian people cannot compromise with Marxists who do not believe in God.
Bert Klint, CBS News, Tehran.
Newsmen in Tehran and news executives here speculated that the Iranian government has ousted the American journalists either to reduce the reporting of Iran's internal troubles or to ease their own problems in dealing with the embassy militants by cutting off the publicity on which they thrive. CBS News will present a special broadcast on the news blackout in Iran tonight at 11:30, 10:30 Central Time. The American hostages in the embassy a few weeks ago were surprised to hear that Tampa Bay had made the playoffs of professional football. Today, an American reporter said the militants have told him that the hostages will be able to hear a recorded broadcast of next Sunday's Super Bowl. Tampa Bay, though, will not be playing. Argentina said today that the United States was wrong when it said this weekend that Argentina had agreed to support the grain embargo against the Soviet Union. Argentina says the United States misinterpreted its position and that only the forces of the free market will decide where Argentine grain goes. That presumably means it will fill Soviet orders if the price is right. Two men, said to be Tunisians, are holding at least 87 persons hostage tonight at Palermo, Italy, on board an Alitalia airliner. They hijacked the plane over the Mediterranean on a flight from Rome to Tunis. The hijackers, who say they have explosives, are demanding the release of 25 political prisoners in Tunisia and to be flown to Libya.
When my family's constipated, each of us wants overnight relief. Phillips is our true blue friend.
Frank, me, and the kids want a dependable laxative that works overnight. Phillips is our true blue friend.
Phillips Milk of Magnesia Liquid works with your body as you sleep, using your body's water to lubricate and soften. Next morning, most people get gentle relief.
Phillips is our family's true blue friend.
Phillips, available in fresh-tasting mint. America's true blue friend.
We need a car that's more than just a fair-weather friend.
With the Subaru four-wheel drive wagon, getting to the top of the mountain is half the fun.
With Subaru, we challenge any other ski team in the world to an uphill.
The Subaru four-wheel drive wagon is the official car of the U.S. ski team. When they say they drive a Subaru, they're not snowing you.
I like the Subaru because it doesn't make mountains out of moguls.
Mountains out of moguls!
Burt Lance, the former Carter administration budget director, went on trial in Atlanta today, accused of banking violations. And Robert Shackney has our report.
Burt Lance, his wife at his side, was civil and friendly enough as he exchanged greetings with reporters who were waiting at the federal courthouse for the start of his trial. But Lance had no comment about the substance of the case against him.
Y'all have a good day. We'll see you at 12.
No comment either from the other three defendants: businessman Tom Mitchell, pharmacist Jack Mullins, and ex-banker Richard Carr, all charged with conspiring with Lance to misuse the funds of Georgia banks that Lance controlled. The first order of business before federal judge Charles A. Moy motions by Lance's lawyers to dismiss the charges on the grounds of alleged prejudicial leaks of information by federal prosecutors. The judge's ruling: there was no evidence to support the defense claims. The motion denied. Defense lawyers are appealing. Lance is accused in a 22-count indictment of conspiracy, misapplication of bank funds, falsifying bank records, and falsifying his personal financial records. The indictment charges Lance with manipulating funds from the banks he controlled to arrange over $20 million in questionable loans and overdrafts for himself, his wife, his three co-defendants, and others. The slow business of jury selection took up the first day of the trial. By day's end, 21 potential jurors had been excused, 8 others tentatively seated. Unless there are further delays because of new defense appeals on the issue of pre-indictment publicity, the judge hopes to have a jury selected by midweek, with opening arguments and testimony by the end of the week. The trial is expected to last 2 to 3 months, and toward the end, Burt Lance is expected to take the stand in his own defense. Robert Shackney, CBS News, Atlanta.
The Pinto currently is Ford Motor Company's most successful small car, but now it's the centerpiece in one of the most serious legal charges ever made against an American corporation: reckless homicide. Bob McNamara has the story.
Today, lawyers for the Ford Motor Company sought to block the prosecution's plans to use Ford internal documents as evidence against the automaker, evidence alleging that Ford built and sold the Pinto while knowing the car was prone to catch fire when hit from behind. Though Ford attorneys admit scores of such potentially damaging internal memos exist, They claim many documents and crash test results could mislead a jury. But the prosecution said the documents will prove Ford guilty of reckless homicide because the memos showed Ford executives knew the car had a defect but did nothing to correct it. The case grew out of an accident a year and a half ago in which a 1973 Ford Pinto burst into flames after being hit from behind by a van near Dunlap, Indiana. The Pinto's passengers, 2 Indiana teenage sisters and their 18-year-old cousin, burned to death in the car. In court today, Ford lawyers tried to have thrown out all company memos relating to anything but the 1973 Pinto and its susceptibility to fire. Ford attorney Malcolm Wheeler successfully argued that a Ford memo be exempted that said, in effect, the automaker found it cheaper to face court settlements for burn deaths and burn injuries rather than strengthen the Pinto gas tank. Judge Harold Staffelt also threw out a memo the prosecution said was written by a Ford engineer and rejected by the company because the memo suggested the Pinto was unsafe and ought to be improved at the factory. Judge Staffelt dropped the documents because he said they did not relate to the case. The prosecution said its case would not be hurt by the loss of the memos, but it did retain one key document that alleged the Pinto was dangerously apt to catch fire if hit from behind by a vehicle traveling at speeds of more than 30 miles per hour. In effect, the judge's ruling gives a jury the right to decide whether federal minimum standards are safe enough.
That means the jury can set the standard in this situation and is not limited to the minimum federal standard of 30 miles an hour.
Defense attorney and former Watergate prosecutor James Neal said the judge's ruling could devastate the auto industry.
If automobile manufacturer meets every federal standard, including the federal standard dealing with fuel system integrity on rear impact. Nevertheless, a jury in the state of Indiana concludes that that standard is not acceptable and prosecute a person criminally.
Jurors have been called for tomorrow to hear opening arguments in what could be a 3-month-long trial. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Winnemac, Indiana.
Even big corporations change their minds sometimes. Exxon did today. Company President Howard Kaufman reversed an order issued last week which would have prevented purchases of gasohol with Exxon credit cards. The original order met with criticism in Congress and from Exxon dealers. After a brief breathing spell last week, the price of gold was up again today, higher than ever. The afternoon price fixed in London was $660 an ounce, and in New York, the closing price was $670.50, up $25 from Friday. The stock market today was up in heavy trading.
At Whirlpool, we know how you feel about fingerprints.
We'll need lots of lemon.
That's why we gave you a refrigerator with textured steel doors that help hide fingerprints.
Okay.
Now you can get the same no fingerprint doors on every kind of refrigerator Whirlpool makes.
Let's go to my house.
And Whirlpool makes more kinds of refrigerators than anyone.
Lemonade and charge a dime.
Now there's no fingerprints for everyone. At Whirlpool, quality is our way of life.
How old am I? You can't tell from my hands. See, no unattractive age spots to give me away because of Esoterica medicated cream. Esoterica works below the skin surface to help safely fade brown spots that appear as we grow older. If you use it every day as directed, in 6 weeks your skin can be clearer and younger looking. Look at your own hands right now. Try Esoterica for skin that says beautiful things.
The Surgeon General said today that no longer are the death rates of women cigarette smokers from heart and lung diseases and lung cancer lower than those of men. His comment came as the Department of Health released its 12th annual report to Congress on the health consequences of smoking, a report the agency said is one of the most alarming it's compiled. Richard Roth reports.
According to the government report, there are signs now of what's called an epidemic of smoking-related diseases among women, with lung cancer the most serious. Federal health officials say lung cancer associated with smoking in women is increasing so rapidly that within 3 years it will overtake breast cancer as a leading cause of death. Surgeon General Julius Richmond said the evidence proves, quote, women who smoke like men will encounter similar risks.
Cigarette smoking, an early sign of woman's social emancipation, is now a major threat to her personal health and her ability to bear healthy children.
The Surgeon General's report calls smoking a major threat to the outcome of pregnancy and to the well-being of the newborn baby. It says women who smoke during pregnancy are more likely to miscarry. Children of smokers are more likely to lag behind their peers in physical development. The study points out other differences related to sex. In the age group 17 to 24, there are more young women smokers than men. It says men with advanced education and professions have led the way in quitting cigarettes compared with women who are, by and large, new to the upper levels of business and professional life. And it adds that women are more likely than men to smoke in order to reduce stress. The Tobacco Institute, representing the $17 billion a year cigarette industry, today repeated its challenge to each medical point raised by the Surgeon General and said specifically that in the case of lung cancer, heart disease, and problem pregnancies, data supporting a link with cigarettes are conflicting or just not conclusive. Richard Roth, CBS News, Washington.
Andre Castellanets, one of the world's most famous conductors, died last night of heart failure in Haiti. He was 78 and only last summer conducted the best-attended concert in history when 250,000 persons came to New York Central Park to hear him lead the New York Philharmonic. David Culhane looks at the Castellanets' career.
He was, for many millions throughout the world, the link between popular music and the classics. For some 50 years, he conducted orchestras on every continent, in every major city. He taught those who thought they only liked Strauss waltzes to appreciate Beethoven and Mozart. And those who began with Broadway show tunes soon found that he had quietly led them to Bach and Stravinsky. He was a pioneer in the field of radio music and in recordings. He is thought to have sold more than 50 million records during his lifetime. He came penniless to America from Russia in his 20s, with only his musical training to help him. He soon found his way to prominence in the world of music. He commissioned major works by American composers, Aaron Copland, Ferdy Grofé, and Jerome Kern. Perhaps not the greatest conductor of his day, he was in many ways the most influential. When people thought of the maestro, many millions thought of Andre Castellanets.
Jimmy Durante, who entered a hospital in Santa Monica, California last week, was reported in serious condition today with what's called deterioration in vital signs. Durante is 86. An operation to restore circulation to the left leg of Yugoslav's President Tito has failed. Now he faces more surgery, possibly amputation. The Yugoslav news agency said Marshal Tito, who was 87, is in good general condition. Well, she looked like somebody's poster girl, and that's just what Jeanette Alvarado is, the 1980 Easter Seal poster child. Jeanette's a plucky paraplegic, 8 years old, in the second grade of Alonso Perales School in San Antonio. On New Year's Eve, she was watching a fireworks display when a stray bullet struck her in the face, apparently from a wild shot by an overenthusiastic reveler. Doctors removed part of the cheekbone from this child, who was born with a spinal cord disorder. Today was her first day back at school, and she got the royal treatment.
Want to know 4 ways to help get better gas mileage?
Tell us, Mr. Goodwrench.
First, air up. Keeping tires at recommended pressure can help save up to a gallon of gas per tank. Next, tune up. That can help save up to 2 gallons.
Wow!
Then, clean up. Get new filters. And slow up. You can go farther on a tank full.
Keep that great GM feeling. Thanks a tank full, Mr. Goodwrench. With genuine GM parts.
Okay, Five Alive, refresh me. Wow!
Okay, Five Alive, refresh me.
Wow!
It's new Snow Crop 5 Alive with 60% real juice made from 5 delicious fruits. Tangerine, lemon, grapefruit, lime, and orange make one thirst-quenching, all-natural, refreshing taste.
Wow! Five Alive sure refreshes me.
New Snow Crop 5 Alive, the all-natural refresher.
Authorities said a man identified as Joseph Hugh Ryan, age unknown, walked into the Denver Secret Service office today and shot an agent before he was shot and killed by another agent. The wounded agent was listed in dangerous condition. A motive for the shooting has not been determined. The Supreme Court today passed up its first opportunity to review the Environmental Protection Agency's enforcement of the Clean Air Act. The justices refused to hear an appeal by two steel companies held to be polluting the air in Lake County, Indiana. This left in effect an appeals court ruling upholding the EPA. 25 years ago in Montgomery, Alabama, a black woman refused to give her seat to a white man and moved to the rear of a city bus. Today in Atlanta, that woman was honored for her defiance of the law. Sam Ford reports.
Today is Rosa Parks Day in Atlanta, where the Martin Luther King Center presented its annual Peace Prize to the woman known as the mother of the Civil Rights Movement.
If you had followed custom and obeyed the bus driver on December the 1st, 1955, the brilliant, nonviolent leadership of Martin Luther King Jr. would not have been displayed as early as 1956. But because of you, we did not have to wait.
It was this mild-mannered seamstress who defied Alabama's segregation laws by refusing to give her seat to a white man on a Montgomery City bus. Her defiance led to her being jailed twice.
And I had been fed up all my life, as far back as I could remember, with being treated as, having to live and be less than a free person.
She had been the secretary of the local NAACP, and Black Montgomery rallied around her with the famed Montgomery bus boycott. Led by a local minister, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., blacks carpooled and walked to work for the next 381 days until the U.S. Supreme Court ruled Alabama's segregation laws unconstitutional. It was the first of the South's many nonviolent civil rights battles to be waged and won by blacks.
Mrs. Robinson, I am calling from Congressman Conyers' office.
67-year-old Rosa Parks now lives in Detroit, where she has been a staff assistant to Congressman John Conyers the past 15 years. She plays down her role in the civil rights movement, saying nothing could have been accomplished without the efforts of thousands. Rosa Parks still takes the bus to and from work, and most other passengers are unaware that they are riding with a woman whose single act of civil disobedience changed history. Sam Ford, CBS News, Atlanta.
And that's the way it is. Monday, January 14th, 1980. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night.
If you occasionally overdo it, you may get an overdoer's backache. A nagging ache in the lumbar triangle, a muscle spasm of the deltoids, a painful soreness in the teres major. If so, you should know about Doan's pills. Doan's contains a medically proven pain-killing ingredient that relieves the pain of backache and strained muscles for hours. Doan's. It takes the ache out of backache. Doan's.
Can you guess how old I am? Well, take your time, because I'm not as young as you may think. One of the reasons I look like I do is oil of Olay. It's like the natural fluid your skin had so much of when you were younger. Oil of Olay eases dryness, helping your skin to become softer, smoother, younger looking. Well, time is up. If you guessed 35 or 40, you were wrong. I'm 45.
Oil of Olay. It can help you look younger, too.
This has been the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite. Tonight, join Walter Cronkite for a CBS News special report. News blackout in Iran at 11:30 Eastern Time. This is CBS.
The Metro School Board is talking tonight about elementary school desegregation. We'll have a live report coming up next on Eyewitness News.
All that softly gleams is silver, and it's available now to First Federal savers, free or at significant savings. These elegant pieces are handcrafted to the exacting standards of the world's finest silversmiths. Bring your dreams and your savings account to Nashville's First Savings